Hi again, it's me. Today, talking to you about proteins. Proteins are good for your bones, like milk. I'm sure you heard plenty of commercials like that when you were a kid. But basically, proteins are something that are found in your food items, but it's also very important for the proper functioning of your body. So let's take a look. Function. Why do we need to eat proteins? Because it forms your muscles, your bones. It produces hormones for your body and also helps you to fight disease. So they're kind of important. Pretty much the majority of your body is structurally built upon proteins. So without proteins, your body would not be able to build new muscle, make new bone. You wouldn't grow. So kind of important. All right, structure. What do they contain? Contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So there's your chonies right there. Or you can rearrange it to HONC, honk, if that helps you. If you don't like saying chonies, it's up to you. All right, where do we get our protein from? Definitely meat. But for those of you who are vegetarians out there, beans and eggs. Unless you are a vegan, you can't have eggs. I think beans are okay. But there's lots of different sources, but the best one being, of course, meat. All right, let's see. So now we know that these big molecules, the macromolecules, are made out of individual units called monomers. And if I put two of them together, it's a dimer. And if we put three or more together, it's called a polymer. Well, in this particular case, the monomer of a protein is called an amino acid. We usually represent it with just big A, big A. Now, amino acids, there's 20 different kinds. You may have heard of some of them before, like tryptophan. You know, around Thanksgiving, they say when you eat too much turkey, you get a tryptophan overdose. Well, tryptophan is actually one of the amino acids. If we look over here, all these little three-letter symbols: glutamine, serine, lysine, cysteine, proline, leucine. Yeah, don't worry, you don't have to memorize those. There's a chart that we look them up, make it much easier. But just know that there's 20 different kinds. So just like for carbohydrates, we mentioned there's glucose, fructose, and galactose as monomers, and that was 3 different kinds. Well, now we got 20 different kinds. It's like if I gave you 20 different colored Legos. They're all 4x4s, but they just happen to be 20 different colors. Okay, so they're all structurally the same, but what's different is one small property of them, which makes them a little bit different. Now, the word, if you remember, for carbs, we had the word saccharide to represent carbs. Well, in here, since the monomer is just an amino acid, we don't say monoamino acid, we just say amino acid. But once I get to dimers, I do include the word di, but now I got a new word. Just like saccharide meant carbohydrate, peptide means protein. So a dipeptide is just 2 amino acids stuck together. So one of them is just amino acid. 2 stuck together is called a dipeptide. Now, if I stick 3 or more together, amino acid, amino acid, amino acid, then I get a polypeptide. And polypeptide would just be known as a protein. So those 2 words are exactly the same. So this little guy right over here, this is a protein because he's made out of 3 or more amino acids stuck together. So you can see amino acid subunits are what all these are. They're held together by what are called peptide bonds right here, peptide bonds. So we have covalent bonds, we have ionic bonds, we have a hydrogen bonds. Now we have this new one, it's called a peptide bond. It's pretty strong. You can snip them and rearrange them if you need to, but they're fairly strong. So the polymer, the polypeptide, the protein, are held together with peptide bonds, which is why we get the name peptide, meaning protein. Okay? All right. Here is an amino acid structure. Do you have to know this? Unfortunately, yes. So let me go over it with you. You have a central carbon, main carbon. Now remember, carbon has 4 hands, 4 valence electrons. So that's what these are. One hand holds on to a hydrogen atom. One hand holds on to a carbon and 2 oxygens. We call that a carboxyl group. You might want to put that on there. My pen's acting weird. It's not smooth. It's all bumpy. That's weird. So the COO. So you'll see it like this. COO or COOH, because this used to have an H stuck to it. That is called a carboxyl group. Now over here on this side we have nitrogen with 3 hydrogens on it. Otherwise you'll see it like this, NH3. That's a 3, I swear. Sometimes you'll see it as NH2 because one of these gets lost in the process of joining them together. So this is called the amino group. Okay, and then the last hand holds on to this thing called the R group. They call it the variant. Basically, it's a take on the word variable, because this changes. How many times can it change? 20 times. That's why there's 20 different amino acids. So all the rest of this stays exactly the same. The only thing that changes is this R group. It's kind of like if I had Captain Hook. You know, he's got the hook hand, right? And so he can twist it off and maybe twist on a sword. Or he can twist that off and put on a spatula if he's cooking. Or he can twist that off and put on a blender. Okay? So imagine that this whole thing is Captain Hook, and he has 20 different attachments for his hand. And each attachment changes the function. Well, that's what the R group does, is it changes the function of the protein, so that way you can make bone out of it, you can make skin out of it, whatever you need to. Okay, so how do I make dipeptides? Well, same process as before, either a condensation reaction. Hi. You want to come say hi? Okay, that's my husband. Either through a condensation reaction, or remember what we called it as a dehydration synthesis. So dehydration synthesis. So what happens is the carbon, the hydrogen, and the R group, as you can see, they're just flipped upside down. That doesn't make any difference. Here's the COOH. Okay, remember how I said there's an OH? And then here's the NH2, which sometimes could be an NH3 as well. And so what happens here is the H from him and the OH from him get together, and out pops a molecule of water, thus called dehydration synthesis. Now what happens is that this arm and this arm join up. Okay, there's that arm right there. Or I'm sorry, let me try that again. Okay, so these two guys fall off, and so another arm is going to join between them. Okay, that's a little bit better. So now what we have is, here's this C, that's that one. Here's the N, there's that one. There's the H right there, there's the double bond O. So what happens right here is that we get the peptide bond. So, and a molecule of water. So dipeptides are made exactly the same as what we showed you previously with the little smiley faces, how they come together and make a drop of water. Okay? So exactly the same process, we just give the bond a different name. We call it a peptide bond. Now polypeptides are made the same way, just every single bond is a dehydration synthesis. So here's a first amino acid, got together with the second one, made a peptide bond. Second one got together with the third one, made a peptide bond, and so on and so forth. And so you can see there's the H, there's the O from the carboxyl, there's the H from the amino group, and there's my peptide bond. So polypeptides are made the same exact way, just repeatedly over and over again. How do we use proteins in our body? For all sorts of good stuff. One of them is it makes up your hair, your bones, your blood, your skin. It's all the structural things in your body. So right over here, structural, hair. I don't know why there's a bunny there. Second thing it does is it makes hormones for your body. Hormones are responsible for, let's see, enzymes, proteins. Where's hormones on here? Oh, plus down here. Hormones like insulin, which helps you regulate blood sugar, is produced by proteins. Regulates activities of the cells. Tells your cells when to go through mitosis and when to stop. Helps you to fight off diseases. So let's see right here. Antibodies help fight germs and bad guys, so that helps. And many other functions, like over here, they can be enzymes, which control reactions in cells. Storage proteins, like in eggs and seeds, that we break down the proteins in there. We get energy from that. Membrane receptors, which are found on the surface of membranes to let cells recognize each other. So lots and lots of important things, how proteins are used in our body. Oh, look at that, we're done. Not a whole lot about them. Alright, so basically, one is an amino acid, held together by a peptide bond, makes a dipeptide, another peptide bond, polypeptide. Okay, there you go, 3 or more. Most proteins in our body are thousands of amino acids long, and all tangled up in big knotted messes. Like hemoglobin is a giant mess of chains of amino acids. So that's it on proteins, not a whole lot, under 10 minutes, so hopefully this one won't take you too long. Alright, see you next when we talk about enzymes. Bye!